Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the Arabic alphabet series. Today we'll be doing lesson number 20. Let's begin. Alright, so now we'll be doing the recap of vowels. We already know that the Arabic language has three short vowels. The fatha, the kasra, the dhamma. This is fatha, this is kasra, and this is dhamma. And all these are symbols that are placed on top or underneath of letters. Arabic language also has three long vowels. What are the three long vowels? It's alif, waw, and ya with sukoons when these have sukoons on them. These are letters of the alphabets. Yeah, alif, waw, and ya are the letters that have the potential to be used as vowels. Long vowels correspond with the short vowels. Alif corresponds with fatha, ya corresponds with kasra, and waw corresponds with dhamma. They stretch their sound. What do you mean by corresponding? They make the fatha sound longer, the alif makes the fatha sound longer, the ya makes the kasra sound longer, and the waw makes the dhamma sound longer. Arabic also has two semi-vowels. These are vowel-like sounds. Semi-vowels, we learned this in last lesson. It's fatha, it's a fatha before a ya or a waw. Remember aw or baw and I, this is it. Fatha before a ya. Fatha before a ya, fatha before a waw. These are the semi-vowels, the aw or the I sound. Now we're going to learn about the fourth type of vowels. The fourth type of vowels are known as double vowels or tanween. In Arabic we call them tanween. The fourth type is when you double the short vowels. So we have the short vowels which is fatha and kasra and dhamma. This type we double them. So we put another fatha, another kasra and another dhamma. These are the tanween. This is fatha tanween, this is kasra tanween, and this is dhamma tanween. What do they do? We'll learn them. These new vowels are called double dhamma or dhammatain. So this is dhammatain. Then there is fatha or fathatain. This is fathatain. And then there is kasra or kasratain. This one is kasratain. Now, what do these vowels do? They add an N sound to the word. What do they do? They add an N sound to the word. We'll be looking at that in the next slide. Now, these tanween, they produce a sound. So, if a letter has tanween, you will pronounce the single vowel which is there on the letter, and then you will follow it with a noon sound or an N sound. So, what do we do is, this means that if there is a fa with a kasra, or kasratain. If there is a fa with a kasratain, then that basically is similar to or is exactly the same as fa kasra noon sukoon. It's exactly the same as fa kasra noon sukoon. It produces the same sound. So this and this are same. As you can see, this is also fin and this is also fin. So tanween is just putting a noon sukoon before the vowel. That's all. The N sound is produced by noon sukoon in Arabic. So fin and fin are same. Similarly, if I want to put a dhamma, this is how I'll do it. This is exactly the same as this. So if this is kun, then this is also kun. The dhamma produces, there's a dhamma, and then after that there's a noon sukoon. This and this are exactly the same. And now for fatha also, I'm sure you can guess. This is going to be a ta fathatain. Ta fathatain means what? It means ta with a noon sukoon. Exactly. It means ta, and then there's going to be a fatha on top and a noon sukoon. This is exactly how it's going to be like. So what do we learn? We learned that tanween is just putting a noon sukoon before the vowel, right? If there's fin, it's a kasra vowel, so we'll just put a noon sukoon before it and it becomes fin, and that's the sound. If it's tan because it's a fatha, and then after it we put a noon sukoon and that becomes tan. Similarly, kun is kun because there is a dhamma and then after that there is a noon sukoon. This is exactly how it sounds. Tanweens can only come at the end of the word. You will never find a tanween at the beginning or the middle. But not all words have tanween. Some words do not have tanween. It's basically based on each word. If a word has tanween at the end, that tanween is to fatha, then there will be a silent alif at the word. What this means is that there is the tanween is a fathatain, then there will be a silent alif. This alif will not be pronounced, but it will just be there. For example, if I write kitaban, there is a kaf and then there is ta and a ba. Now can you see that? First let me put all the signs. Okay, so even though it is ban, okay, we'll be pronouncing this as kitab ban only, but there will be a silent alif at the end. This only happens in fatha. So if it's not like if there's a kasra tain, we'll be putting a silent ya. No. This only happens in fatha. If there's a tanween, which is to fatha at the end of the vowel, at the end of the word, then there will be a silent alif. This alif will not be pronounced, but it will just be there. There will be no alif if the last letter is a hamza. If the last letter is a hamza, then even if it has a tanween on it, there will be no fatha. There will be no alif after it. So this is how it will just be if there is a hamza. Even if there is a fathatain on top, then there will be no alif. There will be no silent alif. It will just be hamza, normal hamza. This case only happens if there is no hamza and there is no ta marbuta. If there is a ta marbuta, again same. There will be no alif at the end. See, again there is no alif at the end. The only place where there will be alif is when there is no ta marbuta and no hamza and there is a tanween with the foot which is to fatha. This only happens in fathatain. If there is fathatain, then there will be a silent alif at the end. But if it's the last letter is a hamza or a ta marbuta, then there will be no alif, even if it has a fathatain on it. Alright, time for some practice. You know the drill. I'm going to be doing this twice. Listen to me once, pause the video, do it yourself, and then come back to me. Sin fatha sa, ha alif ha, saha, ba fatha ba, sahaba, ta dhammatain tun, sahabatun. Okay, this is dhammatain while typing. Okay, while typing, this is how dhammatain looks. But while writing, you will not write dhammatain like this. You will write it like this. It's two opposite dhammas. Okay, like an inverted comma. There will be one dhamma like an inverted comma. Okay, this is how dhammatain looks while typing, but this is not how dhammatain looks, and this is how dhammatain looks while writing. Alright? Neem fatha ma, sin alif sa, masa, hamza kasratain in, masa in, ta fatha hamza sukun, ta, kaf kasra ya sukun, ki, ta'ki, dal fathatain, dan, ta'kidan. Notice that there is a silent alif here because it's a fathatain. Qaf fatha ya sukun, qay, lam dhamma waw sukun, lu, qaylu, lam fatha la, qaylula, ta fathatain, tan, qaylulatan. Notice that even though it's a tan, even though there's fathatain, there is no alif after it, no silent alif. Why? Because this is an exception. This is ta marbuta. Sin fatha sa, mim alif sa, sama. Oh, sorry. Mim alif ma, sama. Hamza fathatain an, sama an. Again, there is a no alif after it because it is hamza. Mim fatha lam sukun, mal, ba dhamma waw sukun, bu, ملبو. Sin fathatain san. Malbusan. And there's a fatha and there's a alif here because it's a fathatain. Again, sin fatha sa, ha alif ha, saha, ba fatha ba, sahaba, ta dhammatain tun, sahabatun, mim fatha ma, sin alif sa, masa, hamza kasratain in, masain, ta alif ta fatha hamza sukun, ta fatha hamza sukun, ta, كاف كسرة يا سكون كي تأكي دال فتحتين دن تأكيدا قاف فتحة يا سكون قي لام ضمة لو لام ضمة واو سكون لو قيلو لام فتحة لا قيلولة تا فتحتين تن قيلولة سين فتحة سا ميم ألف ما سما همزة فتحتين أن سماء ميم فتحة لام سكون مل باء ضمة واو سكون بو ملبو سين فتحتين سن ملبوسا. So now we're going to learn about the new concept in Arabic, the sun and the moon letters. In Arabic, the consonants are divided into two groups. There is the sun letters and there is the moon letters. Huruf Shamsiya, Huruf Qamariya. This classification is based on whether or not the lam sound is pronounced when they get the al. So whenever these letters, for example, if they're in a word like this, and then they have al before it, can you see the alif lam? Then whether or not the lam sound is pronounced, or that's what decides whether they are in the Shams group or in the Qamar group. So if the lam over here in this word, if the lam is pronounced, then this letter which is after lam will be in the Qamari group, and over here if the lam is not pronounced, then the letter will be in the Shamsi group. Let's look at it. The letters in which lam sound is not pronounced, these letters are called the sun letters. As a result, the letter of the lam will be given a shadda. The letter of the lam will be given a shadda, and the letter of the lam after the lam is one of the sun letters, okay, if the lam is not pronounced. But the letters which are after the lam sound is pronounced are called moon letters. Moon letters, like for example, if there was a moon letter over here, then the lam sound would have been pronounced, okay. So we can see there's a classification of the sun letters and the moon letters. These letters, the lam is not pronounced and they get a shadda, and these letters the lam is pronounced, okay. Over here, if any of these letters, if there's alif lam before it, then the lam will be pronounced, and over here the lam will not be pronounced. The letters in which the lam is not pronounced is called the sun letters, and the letters in which the lam is pronounced is called the moon letters. Alright, I hope I'm being clear. Alright, now let's look at some examples. So out here there we see that there's alif lam very clearly, and then there is a ba. If you look at the previous slide attentively, we'll see that the ba is one of the huruf al-qamari. This means that the lam sound should be pronounced. That's why it's al-babu. Al-babu. I'm sure I don't have to tell you why it's fatha here and why there's dhamma there, okay? It's just al-babu. Right now we're only going to focus on the lam here. That's the most important thing. Now over here we see that there is sheen. Sheen is a Shamsi word. Sheen is one of the Shamsi letters. So it's a sun letter. Sun letter means the lam is not pronounced. And we can see that because they have given a shadda here. If there is shadda, that means the lam is not pronounced. This means that the alif over here will be merged with the sheen sound. So ash-shamsu. Ash-shamsu. The lam is not pronounced. The lam, even though it's there, it's silent. It's ash-shamsu. And then over here there is hamza. If you look at the previous slide, we see that the hamza is a qamari word, a qamari letter. This means that it's a moon letter, and the lam sound will be pronounced. And this is also seen because there is no shadda here. So if there is no shadda after alif lam, then that means the lam is pronounced. That's the easy way to differentiate. If there's a shadda, then the lam sound is not pronounced. If there's no shadda, the lam sound is pronounced. Alright, that's an easy way. Instead of memorizing all the huruf al-qamari and huruf al-shamsi, you can just see whether there is a shadda or not. Okay, so how will this be word? Al-ardu. Al-ardu. Again, there's qaf, that's a qamari word, that's a moon letter, and there is no shadda. So al-qamaru, this literally means the moon, al-qamar. And then there is dal. Dal is a shamsi word, and shamsi means sun. Okay, dal is a sun letter, and there is a shadda on top. So the lam sound will be skipped. Ad-daru. The lam sound, even if it's there, will be skipped. Ad-daru. Then there is ta. Again there is shadda, and ta is, which means that ta is a shamsi letter, or it's a sun letter, and so the lam sound will be skipped. At-tamru. At-tamru. Okay, now let's do it with all the harakat. Okay, so we see that there is with all the harakat means I'll be doing fatha, kasra, dhamma, all of them. Now there will be al-babu. How is this al-babu made? We see that first of all there is no shadda here, which means the al sound is pronounced. So the alif and lam, al. Then there is ba alif, ba, al-ba, ba dhamma bu, al-babu. Now ash-shamsu. How is this ash-shamsu? Let's see. There is a shadda, which means a lam sound is being skipped, right? So the alif will be merged with sheen. So ash. Till now it's ash. Then there is a shadda, which means that sheen has another sound. So it is sheen, fatha, mim, sukun, sham. So ash-sham. Then there is sin dhamma, ash-shamsu. Now again it's al-ardu, because the lam sound is pronounced. So lam alif al, hamza fatha, hamza fatha, ra sukun, ar, al-ar, bod dhamma, du, al-ardu. Also one more thing, if you notice over here, alif lam always has a fatha on top. This cannot have a kasra or a dhamma. This alif will only have a fatha on top. That's why it's either al or ash, or whatever the letter after it. Okay, just notice that. Now al-qamaru, this is obvious. There is no shadda, so the al sound is pronounced, so it's al. Then qaf fatha qa, al-qa, mim fatha ma, al-qama, ra dhamma ru, al-qamaru. Then there is shadda here, so which means we'll skip the lam, and the alif will be merged with the dal. So ad, dal alif, da, ad-da, ra dhamma ru, ad-daru. Then again there is a shadda, which means the lam sound will be skipped. So it's at. Till now it's at. Then ta, fatha, mim, sukun, tamr, at-tamr, ra dhamma ru, at-tamru. And if you notice, none of these letters have, one more side thing is that none of these letters have tanween. So from here we learn that some letters have tanween and some letters don't have tanween. Okay, that's one of the side things. You don't even have to notice that. This slide was purely based on the lam sound and the huruf al-qamari and huruf al-shamsi, but that's a side note. So with that, yeah, today's lesson is finished with that, and today's course also is finished with that. This means that the entire Arabic alphabets you have learned how to apply them in a word, and you know the correct pronunciation, which was what this whole course was focused on. Now if you open any book, any Arabic book with the fatha, dhamma, kasra, you should be able to pronounce them correctly. Alright, so congratulations on finishing the course, and I hope this course helped you a lot in your Arabic language. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.